Cool. We start off with bad news for Manchester City fans. Rodri out for the season with an ACL tear that he picked up during that 2-2 draw against Arsenal. He, of course, dominates the headlines in England. For more on this, let's welcome in, shall we? Mario Malchior joins us. Let's start with you, Nedum and Noor. Nedum, it's interesting at the start of the season you had Arsenal as favourites to win the title. Does this injury now to Rodri solidify them as the ones to take the title away from City?
Not necessarily. Obviously, there's a bit of nuance in that, and you are right in calling me out for saying I thought Arsenal were going to win the league at the start of the season. But in recent weeks, they've shown some solidity, but I still feel there's missing something in terms of attack. But for Rodri being missing, this is a huge blow for Man City. He's been their most important player, you could argue, for the last couple of seasons. So much so that he's in contention and will probably win the Ballon d'Or. So yes, losing someone of that sort of ability is massive. He's one of the reasons why Calvin Phillips didn't fit in. One of the reasons why other players haven't really had the opportunity. He's been pivotal. He's been the best in his position, in my opinion, for the last year, 18 months. I mean, not least of all, look at Spain, where he's player of the tournament in the Euros in the summer. So yes, I think this is a big boost for the likes of Arsenal, the likes of Liverpool. For Man City, I think they'll obviously try and make do without him. But I think when you look at the way that he plays and his importance to that side, he's not really replaceable. You just have to do things a bit differently. And who knows whether that differently will provide them with the opportunity to be as successful as they have been in recent years.
As we saw last season, obviously you had Haaland out for a bit, you had Kevin De Bruyne out for a bit. You can jiggle things around, try and make it work. As Nedum said, it's very difficult to find a plan B, isn't it, with Rodri out?
Yeah, because they just don't have anybody of a similar vein to replace him. And Nedum's, I think, right, that they're going to have to go about it a different way. The same way that previously they played without a centre-forward before Haaland came. And if there's a man that's capable of doing that, it's Pep Guardiola. But it is not going to be easy. And quite frankly, I think you've got to look at Kevin De Bruyne as well and think about, he's missed a lot of games over the last couple of seasons, and he was missing at the weekend. So this is not an easy fix.
Yeah,
absolutely not an easy fix. And to win the Premier League title, you've got to be at it for 9 months. And when you're losing your best player in Rodri, because right now, no question, okay, maybe you might argue Haaland, but Rodri, that's a huge, huge blow.
Does this make Arsenal favourites?
We need to see a different version of Arsenal than the one that we saw this past weekend and the weekend against Spurs. And if we indeed see some of the same toughness, but also productivity in the attacking half, then we can have that conversation. I still think Manchester City are the favourites to win this league. However, they have to get past what I think is a mental block in saying, well, and it's a conversation that perhaps we help build and we empower, that Manchester City are apparently incapable of winning without Rodri. Because of his importance to this team, there is sort of this kind of, well, they never lose when Rodri is on the field, and so therefore, look, if there was one player that they cannot do without, it's Rodri. Well, if you hang on to that rhetoric, if you hang on to that message, then we might as well pack up and go home now, because he's not going to be available the rest of the season.
But we haven't plucked that from the sky. The statistics back that up, don't they?
No, I didn't say that we have just made the numbers up.
No, but you were suggesting that we help fuel this conversation.
No, well, I think...
But the facts are there that they struggle without him in comparison to when he's on the pitch.
As it would be the case when you take your best player off the field. That's going to have an impact. That goes without saying. My point is that if Manchester City are going to be successful the remainder of the season, because there's still a whole lot of season to go, you have to get past that rhetoric. You have to get past that sort of conversation, and you have to adapt to what you have now in front of you. And what you have now in front of you is still a long season to go, and you have enough players to where you can change the formation, you can adapt, you can play with two holding midfielders. There are certain things that you can do to try to address this. Now, it's not going to be a one-for-one substitution here because there is no Rodri to come in, right? But you are Pep Guardiola. You are considered to be among the best managers in the world, and you still have a deep enough roster to try to address the issue. Manchester City I think we'll struggle early on, but in the end, we'll find answers, and in my opinion, are still the favourites to win this whole thing.
The bookies have reacted, by the way, to this news that Rodri is out for the season, and for the first time we've seen that Arsenal and Manchester City cannot be separated. According to them, they are both favourites now to win the Premier League. And it's interesting, we mentioned Nadam's predictions ahead at the start of the season. If you take a look at Mario's predictions, talk about kiss of death. Who's going to win? Manchester City. Who's the player of the year? Rodri.
Oh, no.
Thanks, Mario.
Oh, goodness.
Hey, that's just how you look at football, guys. I mean, look, everybody's got his own eyes and own predictions. I said City. I felt the feeling because, Arsenal let me down so many times. And I felt like, guys, when are you going to push it right over the line? And I felt like City, this season, they still had it. But I was just, like we talk about the game and what I saw yesterday, it was like, I felt like I saw a different Arsenal, and not the Arsenal that we all like, and we're not the Arsenal we are used to. But one thing, I saw discipline, and I saw a little bit more character. And that's the thing what we always talk about when Arsenal comes.
So does it change your mind now that Rodri's out, Mario, with regards to who are favourites?
I can say yes straight away. Why? Because I think, like you guys already tapped into it, City's got a big squad. Probably arguably one of the best squads. Sometimes you look at a bench and you're like, listen, for you to sit on the bench, sometimes some of the players will sit on and go like, if I come on, I got to do a big change. While sometimes when you come in the team and you're like, no, I should play. But with City, it's kind of different. He is out. The only thing, what I say, and always in football teams, the spine of the teams are very, very important. So without the Rodri, we talked about De Bruyne. Haaland was also a key figure. But those are all in the spine. And the spine of the team is very, very tricky because that is where most of the time the dictators are. And the dictators that set people down, put the team in the right position when the coach is not talking. They are talking. Rodri, when they talk as a motivational certain kind of thing in the dressing room or in the team, he's the kind of guy that's not quiet. He will open his mouth. So having a voice that you're missing like him there will be a big change. But with a squad like that, you should be capable to handle it.